I got to play Killer Inn early, ahead of its first closed beta test, thanks to a sneaky invite from Square Enix. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my honest first impressions of the game, and also taking you through just how this murder mystery plays out. So, whether you're curious about the game, or perhaps are taking part in the first closed beta test later this week, there'll be something in this video for you. Without further ado though, let's dive right in. Killer Inn, as the name alludes to, takes place in a hotel, or an inn, alongside the grounds surrounding it, and it can be considered pretty much a murderer's wet dream. There's plenty of nooks and crannies, dead ends, but also false walls and levers to pull that provide you with alternative paths throughout. It is here that you find yourself with 23 other players, where at the start of a game you'll be assigned one role. Either you'll be a wolf, or you'll be a lamb. Depending on what it is that you're assigned will dictate what it is that you're meant to be doing during the game. If you're a wolf, your main initiative is to take out all of the lambs. Being a wolf is very much team-oriented. You'll be able to take a look at the leaderboard and see who else amongst the 24 of you is also a wolf and also work together. Whereas if you have the misfortune of being dubbed a lamb, your main objective is to either take out all of the wolves or find your way out by collecting a set of keys that will lead you on to freedom. This is easier said than done though, because as a lamb, you have no idea of identifying, at least initially, who is friend or who is foe, and that means every other player that you can run into can suddenly turn into a fight to the death. Logically, as a lamb, you might think that the obvious thing to do here is to just wipe out every player that you come across. But if you guess incorrectly, not only will you have taken out a lamb, but you yourself will also be petrified and removed from the game. That's a consequence of basically not doing your due diligence and sussing out the person correctly. Of course, it's not all going to be guesswork as a lamb, as wolves, pretty much with a lot of the things that they do in-game, will leave some sort of clue behind. Whenever a wolf goes on to eliminate a lamb, they'll leave some sort of clue, such as hair, fingerprints, or even fragments of clothing. And this isn't exclusive to just eliminating other players. If a wolf goes ahead to break a window because they want to get a clearer route to where they're going, or perhaps they break open a door with a crowbar, for example, they'll also leave a clue. And so there is an additional layer of strategy here as a wolf, as you'll need to make choices throughout the game. Though honestly, as a wolf, you may not even care about the clue system, and you can just throw caution to the wind, and provided you're fast enough or discreet enough, or perhaps you've, banded together with other fellow wolves, you'll be able to mow down everybody that you see, regardless of consequence. No doubt looking at some of the gameplay and hearing these notions of people being mowed down, you'll probably start to wonder, well, what exactly can you do to, eliminate other players? And that's where the game's other mechanics sort of come into play. The first of which is the myriad of different items that you find scattered around the Killer Inn, whether it's in things like dressers or on top of tables. There'll be things you can use to aid you along in your journey, whether it's things that restore your health or they restore your stamina, whether it's smoke bombs, actual bombs, or even things like antidotes to poison. There'll be plenty of items you can find to help you survive your stay at the Killer Inn. Inventory space isn't all too huge, so you will have to pick wisely, but something that's cool is that you can share items with your other fellow players, so if you see somebody that's poisoned, for example, you can hand him an antidote and that will help him. Alongside the items just laying around, you'll also find chests scattered around the Killer Inn. Most of these will need some sort of key or some sort of consumable to open, however, and that's where the quest system comes into play. You can't have any kind of establishment like an inn or a hotel without managers, and so these are the people that you can find at specific desks, specific locations, who will not only sell you items, but will also provide you with quests. The quests they provide are rather straightforward and typically take around 30 seconds or so to complete. They'll typically guide you to a specific section of the map and require you to push a button, pull a lever, or perhaps get to a specific location within an allotted amount of time. In some instances, they'll also require you to complete a puzzle. Doing so will provide you with a selection of different rewards, the first of which is experience points, which I'll get onto in a second, but they also provide money alongside these consumable items that you can use to open chests. Chests can have all kinds of things in them. Some of them will have armor to help buff up your character, and in some instances they'll also have things like firearms in them too. And in a game about murder mysteries, I think it's quite obvious how important a firearm can be, whether it comes to eliminating other players or protecting yourself from attackers. The gold that you're also given from completing these quests can be used in a couple of different ways. Again, you can either go back to one of those managers where they'll be able to sell you items, or you can take your gold to an upgrade bench to upgrade one of your weapons. Take this revolver that I had, for example. I was able to upgrade it to silence it, which is pretty powerful, again if you want to remain hidden, but I was also able to upgrade the fire rate and even provide it with poison bullets. It might be a small detail, but I was glad to see such a straightforward and robust upgrade system which provided tangible benefits and felt like they had an actual impact in the gameplay. It's probably worth mentioning that you can also take clues that you find and turn them into some of the managers at the Killer Inn. They'll give you a monetary reward. It won't necessarily be as large as completing a quest, but every little helps. And if you are a wolf, you're probably thinking that hanging around the managers and just kind of picking off the lambs one by one is probably a decent thing to do. But it's worth mentioning that if a manager sees you eliminate a lamb as a wolf, then if any other players come knocking and they speak to one of the managers will be able to immediately clue them in as to who exactly the wolf is. But honestly, again, if you want to welcome chaos and kind of just throw caution to the wind, that really shouldn't be stopping you from taking out lambs. I mentioned earlier that the game also provides you with experience points, and at this point it should be quite obvious that this game features a very interesting and eccentric, colourful cast of characters. Beyond all of them being visually distinctive, they also come with their own additional perks. None of them are initially active when a game starts, so if you want to take advantage of specific perks, it means that you're going to have to engage with the game's mechanics and get yourself some experience points. Though the perks that they provide are interesting, and I guess there's plenty to dive into there if you want to play the meta way, but in all honesty, you can kind of just ignore them and just pick who you think is the coolest. I ultimately didn't really know what to expect going in, primarily because the game was in its beta phase. I did think the overall murder mystery action aspect of it was quite cool and interesting, but I wasn't really sure if they'd sort of nail the landing there. Pleasantly though, I did actually come away from this feeling quite positive, especially once a couple of the games got going and everybody was obviously on voice chat trying to either psych each other out or hype each other up. And I feel like that's because it's a blend of not just strategy of, this cat and mouse game of hide and seek, but also there's a decent amount of action in there too. Part of the enjoyment for me as well was also the location. It's essentially one great big castle set in the middle of the night, and there's plenty of different nooks and crannies again to either hide from people or to get the jump on others. To round things off though, and to kind of balance this out a little bit, the game isn't necessarily perfect. It is of course in beta, which is why I'm willing to give the team the benefit of the doubt, and why things like the jank, the controls, the graphics, latency, etc, aren't the focus of this video. I feel like if they're able to polish out some of those things by the time the game drops, then the game will probably be in a very good space. If you like the look of the gameplay you've seen or what I've described, and you're interested in something that's a little bit out there, esoteric and unusual, then definitely give Killer Inn a try when you're able to. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then definitely leave a like and consider subscribing to see more Killer Inn. With all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.